Las Vegas. Thanks for joining us here on Realty Check. And this is your local Las Vegas real estate news show where we talk about what's going on in Las Vegas real estate. And you hear it from the source of professionals that are in the industry, not just from people that don't practice real estate on a daily basis. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching our show. If you're liking the content, you like what you're seeing, tell your friends about it. Take a minute, like, comment, share, leave us a review. You can follow us right here on Facebook. You can follow us on iTunes, Amazon, anywhere where you can download podcasts. Download our show, and you'll be updated every Thursday when we post a new show. So thank you for watching. Today I have a return guest, a many-time return guest, Gregory Cook with Castle and Cooke Mortgage, and we're going to talk a little bit today, not only about what's happening in the market, but what's going on with like the lending parts of things in the market, because things are changing.
Absolutely. It's a good point, Trish, that you brought up about talking to local industry professionals who are doing the business, day to day, month to month, because even the local news, whether it's, your local channels, they can be anywhere from 3 to 6 months behind and or just flat out incorrect. So, Las Vegas realtors, boots on the ground, you want to get it from local professionals like Trish. So.
Absolutely. And boots on the ground, not only boots on the ground this week.
Right. Yep.
We were here this week because this week is so much different than 2 weeks ago.
Absolutely. Full-time practitioners. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the news, when they report something or, they do something, they might interview one realtor. They might interview one person as their source. But we have I bring in other realtors on the show. We always have a variety of different professionals so we can have different aspects of what's going on. So if you want to know what's going on in real estate, this is where you check, Realty Check. So let's talk a little bit about like what's happening right now in the market. We're definitely, and I'm sure everybody knows out there, we're seeing some changes and shifts, but I don't really think it's too concerning.
No.
But things are changing. So one stat that I came across was that in August this year, it was the lowest closings we've had in 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Okay. But also it was the 6th highest in 5 years.
Wow.
Amount of closings.
Got it.
So I feel like, for buyers out there that are saying like, oh, I'm going to wait, the market's dropping, I'm going to wait to buy. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So I'm not surprised that August slowed down a little bit. I mean, maybe, now that we're a little bit in September, it's cooling, the weather's cooling off, but the market's not.
Right.
I think August slows down always a little bit every year just because, people are going back to school, it's vacation time. But that it's the 6th highest. It's, this is one of the busiest years in 10, 15 years. So the fact that August is still a little bit up and then down doesn't completely surprise me. But for us, we've noticed we are getting more offers accepted, in that challenging FHA market.
Right.
Throughout the year it had been challenging, but we are getting FHA offers accepted again. And I don't see it as a sign of the market softening. It's just that I think that maybe there's less investors that are buying quite as rapidly, and then it's to pat ourselves on the back. It's the right team structuring an offer the right way as well. So it's a little bit of that. So.
Right, and we're still seeing a lot of competition in the lower price points, and one thing that I think, to me, it's just so bizarre because I see it every single time that, I've been in real estate for 7 years now. And every single time we start to have a market soften even slightly, the buyers, they all back away and they're like, oh no, I'm not buying because the market's slowing down. I'm going to wait for prices to drop.
Right.
But usually it lasts 3-6 months and then it picks back up and it goes higher than it was before. And I'm like, why are these buyers not just like, okay, this is my opportunity? They'd rather be out there shopping with the competition. It makes no sense.
Yep.
Like, why do they do that? It's bizarre.
I understand. Every year I think that the holidays are going to be, I'm going to be able to relax and it's going to be a slower time of the year. And every November, December, right through the first week or two of January is was my second busiest time of the year.
Yeah.
And I think it's if you're buying during the holidays, you're completely motivated. If you're selling during the holidays, you're completely motivated. And I wouldn't pull back at all because it's going to allow you to get in and buy something. And like you said, it may be a little short dip because some people are pulling back because of school or vacation or because it's the holidays. But I think you should get in because it's just going to pick right back up.
And that's what I feel like is going to happen too. I foresee that, I don't know, but I foresee that once we hit, the next year again, spring, everything is going to boost right back up, and the buyers are going to say, "Oh well, why didn't I buy?"
Right.
then?
Absolutely.
So if you're out there, you're on the fence, you're pulling back. I don't think it's a good idea to just sit on the sidelines and wait it out because you're probably going to find yourself back in that competition.
Yeah, the baby boomers that are retiring, and I'm sure we've all heard about this, and I think we're going to be in this for another 10 to 12 years where the tail end of the baby boomers that are retiring, that's going to keep going on. And they're retiring from California, and they're retiring from the Northeast where it's more expensive, property taxes, and they want to come to Las Vegas. So I don't see any major pullback, other than something global economically happening. I don't see anything happening. They want to retire to where it's sunny, no major weather issues, and favorable taxes. So if it slows up, I would jump in. So this isn't going anywhere for several years.
I agree with that. And that is it like out of it's just me or it just seems this way? But we have had this last year has been like the craziest and most migration of people just going everywhere, city to city, state to state. Have you ever had so many relocation clients as we've had this year? I never have.
No, a lot of our clients are either second home time buyers, buying something, with children, whether they're coming from the Northwest or, again, just a lot of our markets coming in from California, veteran retirees, veterans just transplanting. So yes, there's just a lot of movement. Mostly into Vegas. I've had some clients that are leaving, but
I've had a lot. I mean, people more moving in than moving out, but a lot. People are wherever their family are. If they're retirees and they have their kids in another state, they want to go now to be closer to grandkids. We've just had a lot of people just moving. State to state relocations. Lots of that going on this year. Now, I did check the numbers this morning. Single family residents active in Las Vegas. So single family homes, active listings. There were 3,339 homes on the market right now, which still crazy seller's market.
It's a seller's market. Yeah.
I've always heard anything under 7,500.
Wow.
Is still a seller's market. Yeah. So, wow, this is nothing, it's no indicator of a crash. There's all this buzz, right? Everybody's, the market's crashing, It's not, it's adjusting.
Right.
And there were 499 price reductions in the last 7 days. All that's showing me is, which we're gonna go into our next topic with that, all that's showing me is that now comps matter again.
Right.
And this last 6 months, comps didn't matter. But historically, comps have been how you price a home.
Right.
Because you price a home for it to be able to appraise. And you can't do that. You have to look at the comps. You have to look at the recent sales.
And I wonder, out of those price reductions, if you broke it down, I bet a lot of that is in the 700 and above market, and maybe even 600 above, because when you start talking about jumbo loans being anything above 540,000 and change and up, it weeds out quite a bit of the market, people that aren't able to put down that large of a down payment. So if it does break it out, I'm gonna bet that if you're shopping in that 600, 700, 800,000 range, that maybe there's a little bit of pullback there.
Yeah.
Because as a lender, at least, we're not seeing price reductions, in that lower end of the market. The houses, they're appraising, and if they're not, there's still that expectation that you're going to come with the variance in the variance. We're seeing a lot of that. Hey, as a buyer, you need to make up the shortage in the appraisal variance. So I bet it's more in that kind of semi-luxury luxury market where the price reductions are happening.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm seeing some, excuse me, just on my current listings right now, I'm seeing some slowdown in even over 500.
Even 500,
You know, when you get in the mid 4s and 5s, just a little bit of slowdown, and it's not. And sellers. This is the whole thing. Sellers have been used to homes selling in 7 days.
Yep.
2 days, 7 hours.
Right.
They're used to this. This is their, it's their expectation. That's different. We're changing. We're going back to normal. So when a home's not selling in a week or a couple weeks, I'm letting the sellers know it's okay. This is what a normal market's like.
Right.
It's still going to sell. They're all going to sell.
Right.
And as long as we're not overpriced completely.
Right.
If we're priced right, we're with the market, there will be a buyer that wants the home.
Yep.
So that's, it's just, to me, that's very important. And a lot of the price reductions we see is because of the wrong expectations.
Right.
Sellers want to list their house $30,000 above the last sell because that's what their neighbor told them they did.
Right.
And we're not in that market anymore. That changed over the last 30 days. Totally changed. So
yeah, every market's different. I mean, paying $30,000 over a list in California is, I have clients in that market, and it's $30,000 to $100,000 over comps, and they're getting it.
Yeah.
In Las Vegas, maybe offering $5,000 or a variance there, maybe even 10 is on the high side. But yeah, you're not going to get someone just willing to come in $30,000 over list. Our market's not like coastal California. So.
Yeah, it's rare. It's rare that happens, and I think that's where a lot of the price reductions are, is people adjusting. So appraisers,
yes.
Let's get into appraisals again. I know we spoke about this on a show before, but over the spring season, or the last 6 months, I would say, the appraisers were getting really generous on appraisals. We were seeing a lot of appraisals come in strong, like very strong. And it was shocking because we were pricing homes pretty high, and the appraisers were like, because of market demand, supply shortage, we're okay with this. And they weren't getting unreasonable, but they were, definitely more generous than they usually are. I'm starting to see that change. Are you seeing that on your end?
Yeah, I mean, the appraisals are, it's about 50-50. They're coming in short, but then almost every contract has some type of, buyer willing to come with the variance. So no fallouts, because of appraisals.
That's good.
But, and at least maybe in the last couple of weeks, to be honest, it's probably over 50%. Some of the appraisals are coming in below the comps. But again, I think it's just because, and even sometimes the agent knows, like, hey, we're going into this pretty strong, but my client has the money. So it's almost, the seller knows it's probably not, the listing agent knows it's probably not going to appraise, the buyer knows, and the buyer's agent knows. So it's almost expectations met.
Exactly. I mean, when I'm meeting with the seller and we're pricing a home, if we're pricing above what that last comp was, I say, we may have issues. We may have issues with the appraisal. So there, at least the expectation's there. If we don't, everyone celebrates, right? But
exactly.
That's what we're going to expect.
Yep.
And that's what I feel too, is a misconception out there is, people are like, oh, well, I've been hearing about all these appraisals coming in low. That means values are dropping. And no, the houses are overpriced in the first place. And the appraisals are coming in at what the value should be. Right. It's nothing to be worried about because everyone's pricing higher. Right. That's the issue, and it's starting to level out.
Yep, absolutely. And just a good way to look at it is, the house that you were shopping for at $250 in May is likely selling for $260 and above. Yeah. So, did it sell for $265? Because they put it on the market $265? No, but it sold at $260. So the market's still going up. And
I haven't seen a house for $260.
I was going to say, maybe I should be saying $360 and $350.
Where can we get those at?
Yeah, and that's manufactured. So $360 and $350. Yeah. So to see that appraisal shortage is coming in, absolutely not. It doesn't mean there's any softening. It just means the seller wanted to push and they probably still got they did get top dollar, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I'm starting to see that. So, do you think that right now, and we did speak about this a little bit about things, earlier, is that these buyers, like buyer optimism, do you think that that's like slowing down? And are you seeing more of these FHA buyers that couldn't get homes over the rest of the year just starting to, raise their hand and jump back in?
Yeah. I think they're optimistic, and the sad part was always when a client is now they have to buy. Their landlord is raising the rent. Apartment complexes are going from 1,200 to 1,500, 1,600,
Oh my
and
gosh.
so now they're hey, why am I renting a 2-bedroom for this? I'd rather buy, and so they're jumping in. And several of our clients are hey, my rent's $1,900, and then I put them in a mortgage and it's $1,700, and they're thrilled. They're like, wow, I'm an owner for this.
And that age old, right? It's that thing that like we've always talked about. Is like it's cheaper to own than rent.
Right.
For a little while, that kind of reversed, and it was like, it's the same, or
Right.
you're going to expect a little bit more, a
Right.
couple of $100 more to own your home, but you own your home.
Right.
It's definitely a win-win.
Absolutely.
But
Right.
we're starting to see that now because of the moratorium that's causing rents to raise.
Right.
All of the things that are happening, rentals are expensive.
Yep.
And deposits. I had someone I spoke with that had to put up 3 months deposits. They came in with over $6,000 in deposits.
Right.
And I'm like, why don't you just buy a house?
Yeah.
Like, that's an apartment. Why would you do that? Like,
Right.
that's not, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, landlords, whether they're single family landlords or rental complexes, they're very attuned to the market. They know that house prices are going up, and so they know that they can also increase their rents. So that lapse is month to month. They're very attuned to that. So it's happening a lot. Or again, where a landlord's like, hey, I don't want to be a landlord anymore. I already sold the house. And if I've had that 10 times this year.
Yeah.
They knock on the door and it's a new seller, and hey, I got out and I sold the house, and the landlord wants to raise the rent. And what they really want to do is they want to fix it and sell it. So yeah, it's and that's what you don't want. You don't want to be kind of late and be a perpetual renter, and then be a little bit more ahead of the game and in control of it, so that if your landlord ever does decide to sell, that you're at least ready. So
Right. Yeah. I couldn't imagine being in that position where landlord calls and says, hey, move in 30 days.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
That's
Yep.
awful.
You have plenty of clients that think that, hey, I'm in a month to month. It's a great situation to be in.
Yeah.
It means you're potentially a month away from being put out. And so
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's really protected.
Yeah. And so many people are like, oh, my landlord's awesome. I love them, whatever. But, when it comes down to it,
Yeah.
it's not, it's a business, it's a business decision. And that's what a lot of people have to understand. So with the buyers that you have, or the loan applications that you're getting, so nationwide, they say that new loan applications are down by like 18% right now. But again, there are so many buyers that were pre-approved that couldn't get into homes
Right.
this whole year. Are you seeing the people that are shopping in the contracts that you're getting like started or opened right now more? Are you seeing more new loan applications or more old loan applications that are actually starting to get into homes?
I think where that 18% came in is, there was a little bit of a slowdown in so a couple things happens. One, for a very brief point in time, rates went up a little bit. And when I mean rates went up, they went up by 0.25%. And so oddly enough, still 30% of the market who should have refinanced over the last few years still has yet to refinance. So those people that were still constantly waiting for that extra eighth, extra quarter, they either pulled their applications and decided not to, or they're just waiting.
Yeah.
But as far as buyer applications, they're up. We're busy for that, and we do have some clients that are coming back. If it was for any number of reasons, saving money, working on credit, that sort of thing. But I really think that 18% dip was more just people, summertime, not wanting to buy, and really more refinances. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And that is when you see news stats, it's always like, okay, but what's really going on?
What's behind it?
What's behind the
Right.
scenes and what's happening there in real life, you
Yep,
know, because
absolutely.
those stats on everything, you know, we know that any story can be twisted.
Right. And I don't know if this is a follow-up question also, but a little bit of a slowdown happened and it was that percent about what happened with the investments in second homes that was posted
We
on
spoke
Facebook.
about this
Yeah.
yesterday, yes.
So it lasted about, I don't know, somewhere between 4 to 6 months. The GSEs were tasked with slowing down investment and second home purchases. And what that meant is that because they're basically government controlled, the GSEs, government service entities, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, that they said, we're a little bit nervous about how many investment homes and second homes you have in your portfolio. If you go above 7%, we are going to basically restrict that. We're going to restrict that more. So any mortgage bankers, lenders out there that got anywhere near that 7% threshold, they basically put higher restrictions on that. And higher restrictions really just meant price costs. So if you were buying an investment property or second home anywhere in the last 6 months, you effectively paid more for it because there was a tightening in the market.
Yeah, and there was a little tightening, I feel like, on even the qualification aspects of it. It seemed like they were...
Absolutely, yeah. They've been tighter.
Yeah.
I don't know so they just announced yesterday that they decided to stop that. And I don't know if they feel like just because the market's changing, which it's not. I think they wanted to slow down the investment purchase market, and it didn't do it because really the people that are investing, it's the hedge funds paying with cash. And so all they did was hurt the mom and pop who wanted to buy an extra home or investment property or a second home. Hey, I live in, LA, but I want a second home in Vegas, or I'm from Washington State. I want to have a second home in Vegas and, for my family and, future retirement. And so it really affected them more than the hedge funds that are buying homes by the hundreds.
Because they're buying cash.
They're
And
buying cash.
that has been a concern over this last 6 months, is that all these corporations, and it's true, it's happening. I've seen it in black and white. When I'm looking at contracts, when I'm in the middle of transactions, there are a lot of corporations that are buying a lot of homes for cash. They're not getting loans.
No, right.
Yeah, you're right. The loans are the families, or that
Absolutely.
someone that saved up enough money wants a second home as an investment. Yeah. So, and the concern was regular buyers, your regular buyer that's out there can't buy a home, or they're trying to buy a home and they can't compete with this cash investor that scoops up, offers full price or above, and they're getting all the homes to turn into rentals.
Right.
And this regular buyers there still can't find a home. That's been a problem and a concern, which is probably why they tightened up those investment things, but still they're not.
It didn't have the intended consequence. It didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I also, so here's my housing plan for that is that they should have, or what should have been done, and this is not going to be done. Don't take this as it's going to happen, because it's not. It's just my feeling of what they should have did with this.
Yeah.
A wish is that they would have incentivized home sellers with some type of incentive, some type of tax break, some kind of type of something to sell to an owner occupant rather than an investor.
That's a good point.
I feel like that would have fixed that problem a lot.
Yeah.
Instead of offering, they start offering like more grants, or they start offering like more things for buyers, but that was the last thing we need. A lot of the buyers were funded. They could get the money, they could buy the home with their down payment and everything. They just couldn't pay 15, 20, 30,000 above the appraisal, or they couldn't do all these things. And I feel like reversing that, they weren't in need of the grants, they were in need of the home.
Right. Yeah, you didn't need more fuel in the fire, you needed more wood. So we need to come up with our reach out to our local mayors and congressmen and say, hey, it needs. That's a really good idea. It's a really good idea.
Yeah. So all right, so let's pass that.
Yeah.
Just joking. I have no say. I have no say in anything.
Well, it starts from local grassroots and say this is the solution, because you can't say so much, hey, that you're going to stop the corporations, the hedge funds from buying. That's government control on that side, but to incentivize a home seller to sell to somebody from the local market, an owner occupant, and it has to be checked on the contract. Are you buying owner occupant, and there would be some type of penalty for something like that. That is a very good way to that's a good solution.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Fannie Mae did that back when we were in the foreclosure market.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Right,
That
absolutely.
was Home Ready or Home Path or
Right, Home Ready and Home
something.
Path. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Home Steps and Home Path. Yes.
Yeah, and they had that for 7 days.
Yep.
They wouldn't accept any offers that were not owner occupant, and it was just a little. It gave it gave regular home buyers the chance
Absolutely.
to get in there because all the market was raising fast, and all the investors were trying to scoop up everything before it got any higher.
Yep.
So we only have a couple minutes left, and this news article, which I'll maybe post it on the show link so people can get like the full details. I don't want to go in with all the details of the article, but there's basically a self-sufficient city in the plans, and it looks like they're going to be doing several of these, like just very energy efficient, self-sufficient, gonna run on its own, solar, just off the grid, everything.
Right.
$40 billion?
No, $500 billion.
$500 billion.
Yep. And he only needs $400 billion in investors and loans. So
yeah, that's all.
Yep. Right.
Nice. So Nevada, the only reason why I'm bringing it up on the show is they have some areas that they're looking at. Nevada's one of them. It's not going to be Las Vegas. I'm sure they're going to look for a big dirt area where there's nothing.
Inexpensive land where they can,
Yeah. So somewhere out rural Nevada, Nevada's huge, and we actually have a ton of land in Nevada that's just empty space. So it's interesting to me because when reading this, I seen that all of the owners, so you I guess buy property or buy a piece of this development, the city, they call it a city,
Right.
and you're just like a co-owner of land. No one's going to own their land. It's kind of like, imagine a big condo community.
A big co-op, co-share, timeshare, not a timeshare, but at least a big co-op.
Yeah. City.
Right.
City. I see it like crazy costly. What do you think? Do you think that if this were to happen, and it sounds like it's going to happen regardless, but do you think there's going to be a lot of demand, like people fleeing to that, or?
I think if it happens, which to be honest, I don't think it does. I think it's a little bit too much of pie in the sky, utopian.
That's what it seems like.
Pipe dream.
Yeah.
I think there would be a lot of demand. I mean,
really?
the concept is fantastic. I just as far as how do you fund it? What's the structure going to be like? That I don't know. I'd love for there to be that type of planning in big cities and urban development, because he brought up and he compared it to the idea of like a Scandinavian, like a Sweden, where it's the thing is about that is they have a lot of oil revenue that helps support Scandinavian social services in Finland and Denmark, that sort of thing. Much like what they do in Alaska. Alaska does something similar. There's a stipend for the oil and gas. I don't know what's going to fund a city like this. And then I have no idea where he's going to get $400 billion to just build it and it will come. Great idea. I don't know how it would work.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, we'll see if it's just to me, it seems so Jetsons.
Yeah. The concept it looks great. Funding it and building it from the ground up, everything on there was, local grants, private investors, not, he doesn't have the money.
Yeah.
And I find it very ironic. He was a Wal-Mart executive, so a company that doesn't notoriously pay their employees very well, that now wants a more socially economic, diverse community. I found that kind of ironic. Yeah.
And I can only imagine it's going to be tremendously expensive to live there.
The overhead sounds like it would be. Right. Yeah.
So it would definitely be one of those. And I mean, if you live there, you'd have to work there and do everything there. So interesting. I just so much crazy things happen in the future. It's like we're doing all these things, and it's like all the cartoons and all the movies we see when we were kids coming to life, right? And in these different areas, and that is just like, wow. And I don't know if it does happen. If it is in Nevada, kind of like close to home, I wonder, like, will they allow visitors? Can we go visit? Can we
It'd
go
be
on
fantastic.
vacation there?
Usually
Yeah.
it's more of a build necessity and it will come. Like, look how expensive land got in northern Nevada. Tesla and the battery bank
Oh my
that was
goodness,
there.
yes.
You had jobs, and so then it got expensive. Not, let's build a community and then let's see how we're gonna. It almost seems some type of bartering system. That part I struggle with how that would really work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like what are they doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, so, well, Greg, it's been great having you here on the show again.
Thank you very much again.
Always,
Yeah.
always a great guest. I really love having you here, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Greg, if people have questions for you, how do they reach you?
Gregory Cook at Castle and Cook Mortgage, 702-324-6229. I'm pretty much 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., 8 to 8, anything like that. Love to work with you.
Yeah, he takes calls, text. He's
Yep.
very easy to get a hold of, so
Thank you.
that's great. And you guys know how to reach me, 702-308-2878. You can message me here on the show, follow us here on the show. And again, if you guys are watching, share us with your friends. Take a minute to send us a review. You can listen to us, download us, follow us. We're on audio. Anywhere that you can stream a podcast, we're at. So if you're even, and I keep on mentioning this because I just think it's cool, but if you're driving a Tesla and you say, hey, play Realty Check with Trish WIlliams, we're in there. So it'll definitely start streaming it or playing it. So that's pretty awesome. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week on the show. Thanks for tuning in.